All right, I'm headed home from work. It's Monday, December 30th. I got a topic from Reddit that's going to be about getting multiple pings per day on like status updates. And I feel like this is probably something that will resonate with a bunch of people. So I thought it'd be good to talk through some perspectives on this. So it's only gonna be about 30 minutes to get home, which is sweet. But I'm a little bit nervous because I have to be on a live stream real soon, and I was a little bit late after work. So according to this, if I make it home in the time it says, 30 minutes, I will have 3 minutes to go live. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, so it's going to be this conversation about status updates. We'll talk about some different perspectives on this. Just a reminder for folks, if you want questions answered, please just comment below. Happy to talk through stuff. Otherwise, I go to Reddit, right? If you have something that's more detailed that you want to keep anonymous, that you don't want to write in a comment, look for Dev Leader on social media and just send me a message on whatever platform you want. And then also a reminder, because I'm literally rushing home to do it right now, my live stream on my Dev Leader, which is my main channel. It's an AMA style. It's at 7 p.m. Pacific on Mondays, which is hopefully what I'm getting home in time for, and I'm really doubting it, but we'll see. Because if I hit a drop of traffic on the highway, I'm screwed. But we'll see. Okay, so status updates. I think the first thing that I want to kind of talk through here is like why people are asking for status updates in the first place, right? I think one of the things that is really key to think through here is like, this is like fundamentally communication in software development. And I think usually when this happens, maybe not always, but usually it's because we have different stakeholders and I would say more often than not, at least in my experience, you'll have non-technical stakeholders that are looking for updates on things. So it might be your engineering manager, arguably a technical stakeholder depending on their skill set, and or project managers, right? Because project managers are generally trying to coordinate things either within a team or across teams, and they're looking for updates. So I think one of the reasons that this happens is that ultimately someone is tasked with needing to provide information to someone else. Okay, so the reason that someone's coming to you is because they need the update from you. It's from my experience, it's more often than not that they're just doing it because they need an update to give to someone else. And I wanted to kind of talk through this because like I'm literally in a funny situation like that right now, and I wanted to kind of walk through what I'm kind of experiencing and what I'm trying to do to navigate this, because I am fully aware that when you have someone coming and pinging you for updates and stuff, it feels like, holy shit, man, leave me alone. I'm just trying to get my work done. And like, the more that you ping me for updates, the less I want to do this work. Like, you're getting on my nerves. Like, I get what it feels like. So I'm not totally, oblivious to that. So let me kind of explain my situation. I'm currently leading a relatively big project that's cross teams. Primarily the team I'm in, like including the larger team. So not just the teams I manage, but sort of the teams that report up to my manager. So like primarily we're the larger group, and then there's some other partner teams that are involved, and they have deliverables, and there's interdependencies, and there's a time frame where all this has to be delivered within. So not only is this across multiple teams, but it's also across different geographies. And so that's at least, if I am doing the math right in my head, at least 4 different countries. It might be up to 5. So we got that going on. we got the fact that it's holidays, right? So this project started before the holidays, but obviously Christmas and New Year's and stuff, like, we got that going on, so that's kind of an interruption. So, challenging part is I need updates. And why do I need updates? Well, a couple of reasons, right? So, as someone who's coordinating the project, I need to make sure that things are moving along, and it's not a matter of like, I don't trust the people are working. And that's sort of one concept I want to call out here, that I think a lot of the time people feel this way. Someone's asking me for updates, they're micromanaging me, they don't trust I'm getting my work done, right? So I want to call out that, like, as I'm navigating this, I don't want people to feel that way, right? I'm trying to make it very clear to them, like, I'm not, man, these people, come on. Not very good merging here, but we did it. My goal is not to ping people and say, hey, like, I need an update from you because I think that you're not getting your work done. Quite the opposite. I know some people that are working on this project have several deliverables, and so it's not like, hey, I think you're not getting your work done. In fact, it's like, I want to make sure that you're okay. Like, do you need any help with what's going on? Are you blocked on anything? Cool, fast lane. So, you know, I'm, like, part of why I'm asking for updates is I want to make sure that people aren't blocked and that things are progressing, right? I need to have ETAs on things because there is actually a time frame that this work has to get done within. And what that means is, like, usually in normal development, things are, in my experience, are a little bit more relaxed, where if things are going to go over, like, cool, we're going to adjust our deliverables, but I don't really have such a luxury in this case. So I need ETAs, and basically the goal of the ETA, and I've made it very clear with people working on this stuff, the goal of the ETA is not to say, hey, look, if you're not going to hit this ETA that you set, like, you're getting punished. It's, again, quite the opposite. If you're not meeting the ETA, I want to use that as something that we can start a conversation about. You said it's going to be done in 2 weeks, and we're a week into it, and you're feeling like that's really not going to be the case? Cool, let's talk about it. Do we need to bring in someone else to help? Are you distracted by some other work that we need to reprioritize? Are you blocked on things? Right? These are all conversation starters. So what I'm finding is, like, I'm doing a lot of this reach out to try and make sure that I have these statuses. The other reason, aside from keeping people, or helping try to prevent people from being blocked, is I will have to report this to executives. It's not a choice. I'm not doing this because I'm like, I can't wait to go do this and no one asked for it. It's being asked of me. I have to get it done. And I need to understand the level, a proper level of detail of what's being worked on and what's not being worked on, so that I can report it up. Now, I need to be clear about this with people I'm working with so that they understand, like, if I'm asking for updates, it's not because I don't think that you're not working. It's because I need to be able to speak to all of this with a sufficient level of detail. And I need to report that up to executives. So, with all that said, like, that's kind of why I'm doing it and what I'm using the information for. And now, in practice, what seems to be happening is that, yes, I do need to be asking people for updates. But what could they also be doing? Like, they know that I'm looking for the status updates. This person's not going very fast. If they know I'm looking for the status updates and I'm doing it on a cadence, they can actually remove some of the steps, right? Like, if they don't want me to be reaching out to them and saying, hey, what's your update? They know exactly when our sync meetings are. They know that the expectation is that I'm going to be talking through those status updates with a larger audience, right? So we've made it very clear before we started, like, this is what's going to be happening in these sync meetings. all you have to do is put a brief status about how things are going. If you're not meeting the ETA, that's totally fine. Let us know what the new ETA is. Let's discuss. If that's not going to be acceptable, we need to bring in other people or shift gears. Do we need to realign on what's going on here? Like, it's a conversation starter. So I've been trying to, like, especially with people directly on my team, because I have more frequent conversations with them, I will say to them explicitly, like, hey, look, like, you know, I know the stuff you're working on because we talk about this a lot more regularly. If you're not able to make it to the sync meeting, like, that's cool. Give me the update. Like, let me know the status. Like, I'll go represent you. It's totally fine. But for people that are experiencing this stuff and it's too much, right, where you're feeling like overwhelmed from someone asking, I would kind of put this back to you, and you can kind of maybe take some control of the situation. And what I would do, and like, you can do this in a polite way, it doesn't have to be like condescending or, you know, even if you're frustrated, like, if you recall what I said a few videos ago, like, step one is take a deep breath, right? Like, we gotta keep our cool. I get it's frustrating. So deep breath. Okay. Someone keeps hounding you for status updates and you're getting fed up. Something that you could do is go to them and say, hey, look, I know that you're looking for status updates. Maybe we can look at a different way to do this, right? I know that you need these updates for something. Could you explain to me, like, you know, sort of your scenario? Like, what are you trying to accomplish with the updates that can be helpful for you to understand, right? You're not asking it in a way that's like challenging them, right? Like, be like truthfully trying to seek to understand, like, hey, I know you're looking for these and it seems like, oh, it's almost like twice a day kind of thing. Like, what's up with that? Like, could you walk me through like what you're going through and why you need these updates? And then the second part is like, okay, now that I understand why you need these updates, is there anything I could be doing differently that enables you to have a better understanding that is less taxing on me? Because at that point you can be transparent with them, like, hey, look, the frequent ask for updates is actually, it's causing a bit of distraction, and I want to make sure that I can enable you to be effective in your role, but I also need to make sure that I can stay on track, right? So I think that there's a way that you can approach that conversation that doesn't have to be like, you know, fighting someone over it, that you're being annoyed, that you can have a respectful conversation and say, I want to understand what you're trying to accomplish so that I can better enable you to do that in a way that's not going to be as disruptive to me. I genuinely think that most people that find themselves in this situation where they're frustrated by, like, people keep asking for updates and stuff, I think that most of the time they're not stopping to have a conversation about it. They're just getting pissed off. And why do I think this? It's because it's pretty common in my experience that people kind of have something occur and they're like, it upsets me, but I won't talk about it with the person. Not everyone, but it's a pretty common pattern that I've observed over the last 12 years. So, in such a situation, like I said, I would highly recommend having a conversation with the person, because things can improve. And I don't think, from my experience having conversations like this, I don't think that someone who's having or on the receiving end of that is going to be like, oh man, get a load of this guy. I can't believe they're trying to tell me to not ask for status updates, and I can't believe they want to help me. Like, it's backwards, right? You're literally suggesting to them, I would like to help you, but I want to find a different way that's equally as effective for you, if not better, and less disruptive for me. I want to give you another example. There's a project that's being done on my team, and there's one of the engineers that's been making progress on this. He's doing great work, but it's a long project, and there's multiple phases to it. And I found myself in situations where I know that I'm being asked about the status of this project, and there's been a couple times where, like, I'll get pinged on it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, like, you know, here's the latest update, but like, let me go reach out to the engineer. and like I'll go ping him and get an update. Just it's a little bit more up to date than maybe the latest information I have. But I know what's happening at the same time is that there's another individual that I work with very closely, and I know that he's also getting pinged on this, and he's going to reach out to the engineer. So now this engineer has at least 2 people, so myself and someone else, that are reaching out to him and being like, hey, status update, and again, like I think this guy, he gets it. Like he's not, I don't think he's like frustrated by it yet. And I think that's a key point, is like, I don't want it to get to that position. I'm pretty confident that based on our working relationship, he doesn't think I'm micromanaging him, because he's happy to give status updates. Like he's making good progress on things. We have a pretty solid, like, I would say, like, working relationship, working dynamic, where he feels like he can trust me with things. That's at least my interpretation of it. So I don't feel that he's expressing frustration with it. But I also don't want it to get to that. So what we've done is we've basically just done like a dedicated chat between the 3 of us. And I've explained to him, hey, look, like I'm getting pinged on this stuff. And it's because of higher up individuals that are kind of like looking at more of a holistic picture of some offerings that we have a role in. Like they're looking for understanding that. And I've been able, and I will tell them, like I've been able to kind of give them my updates, but sometimes I'm asking you for more up-to-date stuff just in case there's anything additional. So we've just created a group chat with the 3 of us, where we can make sure that, like, hey, if anything's coming up, like, you're not going to get bombarded twice now. It will be one of us kind of like asking. And then that saves me too, because I might see an ask in the chat. I got to move over lanes here. Let me in. Then I can see if there's already an update in the chat, then I don't have to ask, and vice versa. And overall, just making sure there's clear communication, because again, the goal was not to say, hey, we don't think you're working. The goal was very much to be like, people are asking us for updates, and we have updates, but they're looking for more. Or different details, right? Maybe there's a detail that I didn't have information on. So I think just being very transparent about the reason we're asking, and then making sure that there's like a safe place to basically, in my opinion, I feel like that's a safe place for him to be able to push back if he's being annoyed, to be like, okay, like let's address this, let's get it out. And I feel like the group chat thing, I feel like was a very simple, low-tech strategy for just making sure this person's not getting bombarded. What I don't want to do is now have someone outside of our group who's, say, above us, kind of going, okay, like I'm going to ping them directly now too. Like I would rather kind of be the shield for that. And that way, if they're coming to me asking for status updates, I can make sure that if I have a recent one and I feel like I can answer everything that's being asked, I'll just do it. So I think, one of the meta points here that I want to get across is like, there are going to be situations where you'll have managers that are micromanaging you. And I've been pretty fortunate that almost my entire career, I've never had that done. I think where I've seen, like in my own experience, even as a manager, where I've seen that happen, is that there's a level of distrust. Okay, so when I'm giving status updates and saying like, here's what I'm doing, here's how things are progressing, when there's a level of distrust that's like, you shouldn't do that, or like you should do this instead, and it's like, I can tell that the person is like questioning what I'm doing, to me, that's where the micromanaging part kicks in, where it feels really bad, where I'm like, well, why am I even doing this work? Why don't you do it? Right? Like, clearly you don't trust that I'm able to do this. So like, if I keep trying and you keep saying like, oh no, like not this way, do it this way, then I get really fed up. However, when it's status updates, I think that starts to look a little bit different. So again, understanding what the status update is for, I think goes a long way. So instead of us making assumptions like, this project manager's a pain in the ass. Every time they come around, they're just asking me for status updates. Like, I don't like working with this person now because they're always bothering me. Like, I do think that there are ways to turn that around. And it involves a conversation that can be uncomfortable, but I could almost guarantee you that if you just have the conversation and try to say, hey, look, I know that you're probably trying to get status for someone or for some reason, could you talk me through that? And then can we come up with a more sustainable approach for this? I would find it very difficult to believe if someone was like, nah, screw you. So that's my recommendation if you find that you're getting blasted with status updates requests. The final thing, and I kind of hinted at it earlier, is I'm trying to promote, if you don't want me reaching out to ask you for status updates, the precedent has been set that and people are very aware, at least I believe they're very aware, that I have to report out status for the project that I'm doing, as an example. So I've made the precedent very clear. So it's not a micromanaging thing. It's I need to have the updates so I can report them out. So if you don't want me bothering you, you know exactly where to go and how to update things for status. So we don't need a ton of detail. If your update is literally things are at the exact same spot, that's an update. That might mean I need to have a conversation if we're reaching the ETA and it's still at the same point, but that's an okay update. I'm not going to be mad by that. I just need to know, right? And I think that's maybe a point of confusion for some people, or a fear, right? So if you're like, hey, if I need to give an update and things haven't moved in 2 days, am I going to get in trouble? So, I can't speak for every engineer that's out there, and I can't speak for every engineering manager, but I will say that I try to be very clear with engineers that when I'm talking about status updates, my goal is not to trap you in a corner to say, you told me this date, and we're about to hit that date, or we've just passed that date and you didn't deliver it, shame on you. Absolutely not. My goal is to use the ETA to understand the trajectory. I try to be as clear as I can about that because I want to make sure that if things are off course, there's tons of stuff that's outside of your control. Tons. If you have a dependency on another team and they've come up and said, we can't get that done, I'm not going to come after you and say, oh, you're the worst software engineer. No, I want you to be able to say, hey, look, that team, they just said they can't get it done now. As soon as be transparent with me, let me know. Let's see if we can shift gears and take a different approach or whatever we need to do. Maybe I have to get involved and push back on their team or something. I don't know. The whole point is that it's an opportunity for a conversation. So one of the first things I said in this talk was communication, right? And I think that sometimes people, it's the communication part's a bit of a struggle, a bit of a challenge. But ultimately, I think we just have to make sure that we're enabling our teams. This is a responsibility on engineering managers and senior engineers on the team. We need to be able to enable a space for people to have conversations like this. So if you're listening to this and you're like, well, that sounds like bullcrap advice because I could never talk about this stuff, something to think about, right? Is that an environment you want to be in? Is that something that you can try to improve, right? Can you have conversations about that to kick, even with your manager maybe, to say, hey, it's challenging to have conversations like this. I don't know. Depends. But communication's a huge part of software development, and I think that when we shy away from it and we think that there's no way I can have a conversation about this, it's such a missed opportunity for things getting better. So instead of being in this situation where oh, people are asking me for updates, this all just sucks, I hate people that do this. Like, instead of that, can we have a conversation about it? The vlog entry I did on meetings, I think that was this morning. Like, same concept, right? You're going to meetings and you hate the meetings, they're distracting, you think they're useless. Talk about what the meetings are. Maybe that meeting's not serving the purpose anymore. And that's okay. Like, meetings evolve over time. So if it's not serving the purpose anymore, have a conversation about it. But if we're not talking about things, we're not going to get better. Okay, I'm done ranting. So that's, I think, what I wanted to say about that topic. You know, I'm sorry for folks that feel like they're kind of trapped in a situation where, like, they're bombarded by this stuff, but I do recommend have a conversation about things. If you feel like you can't have conversations and the environment doesn't enable it, I think you have a choice of, do you try to actively improve that, or is it time for a different environment? Easier said than done, I understand. Something to think about. So, amazingly, I made it home almost. I'm at the lights, but I made it home on time, unless this light never changes, in which case I'm screwed. I got about 7 minutes before I'm live. But if you're watching this or listening to it, unfortunately, right now is yesterday for you, which means you have to wait till next week to watch the next live stream. But that will be on my Dev Leader YouTube channel. So, like I said at the beginning of this, every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific, I do a live stream. If you want to know what the topic is going to be, you can go to weekly.devleader.ca. That's where my newsletter is. No, you do not have to sign up for the newsletter if you think newsletters are dumb. It's totally cool. I'm not offended. If you just want to see what the topic is, I put it out Saturday mornings at 5 a.m., bright and early. So you can check it out Saturday, Sunday, or, you know, Monday the day of. And like I said, weekly.devleader.ca. You don't have to sign up or anything. Just you can check it out. It basically looks like a blog entry. So there's that, and then you can see what the topic is. And I made it home. I'm gonna have to rush upstairs, so let me go ahead and back up before this person hits me. And we did it. Okay. Thanks, folks. I'll see you next time. Take care.